Welcome to Series 3 of the Callisto Grand Big Change podcast. In this series, we explore and reveal the personal and professional side of senior executives from large companies. Reaching the top in any field is never straightforward, requiring many years of personal investment and dedication. I'm Mark Harrison, founder of Callisto Grand. Over there in Hungary is my colleague Esther Gabriel. And today is our great pleasure to meet Vladimir Vachel, Managing Director at EOS KSI, Czech Republic. The EOS Group is one of the leading technology-driven financial investors and an expert in the processing of outstanding receivables. The company's core business is the purchase of unsecured and secured debt portfolios. With over 40 years' experience, EOS offers some 20,000 customers in 26 countries around the world smart services for all their receivable needs. So, good afternoon, Vladimir.
Good afternoon, Mark. Good afternoon.
Nice to meet you again. You graduated from Prague University of Economics and Business in 1997 and started working in a bank. It must be interesting to look back on your university days. When back then it was still Czechoslovakia and only a couple of years out of communism. So having grown up in a communist world with your education and your parents, aspirations all being very different, could you see yourself emerged every day in free international trade and in a world where 90% of business relies on credit? Perhaps we could start then with you taking us through your career from a young graduate through to today.
Well, it is necessary to say that I was just 16 when the communist regime changed. So when the regime changed and the possibilities simply appeared. And it was the time when everything was new for everybody. And when I studied university, I started in 1992. So it was really fresh time. It was the time when a lot of law was changed or there was a completely new law. Just imagine in 1992, there was new VAT law introduced. And we just started the school and the new law came, and then we discovered that the professors are sometimes just a couple of lessons ahead, and they are just reading the law and interpreting the law in order to teach us how the things work. But coming back to the question, well, at the very beginning of all this story, I had obviously no clue. But then when I saw the development in Western countries, when I saw all the things happening in the Czechoslovakia and also then in the Czech Republic after the change, it became more and more obvious that the finance and credit will play a significant role. So this was also for me the reason why I searched job in a bank.
So was that kind of your as you were going through then your university, you were kind of determined to do something different from the upbringing that you had, that you could see all these opportunities and you wanted to be kind of in the forefront of it? Yeah.
My original intention was to be in finance somehow involved. This was obviously so. I went already to high school with the aim to study finance later on at the university. But I had no clue that I will end up in a debt collection agency, of course. It had some development, and the beginning was the experience from bank, and 7 years in the bank were great years for me, because I had the opportunity to discover how the finance work in the real world. I saw balance sheets of all different kinds of companies. I saw them profiting and losing. I was following their intentions and aims and providing them with their life, with providing financing and living with them. And so this was the bank. And then after a certain period of time, after 7 years, I got a chance to change to a mid-sized company, Husky, which was also a great opportunity for me, because this was actually a place where I could learn, where I could make in practice all things I learned before. meaning at school, but also in a bank. I was advising banks, advising clients from the banks how to deal with different situations, how to organize investments, how to provide credits to their customers, and suddenly I was in the position that I was doing it by myself. I got huge space from the owner of the company, so I was free to decide many things. I got experience suddenly from creating cash flow. Steering the cash flow. I was discussing banking credit. I was opening clients' credit for customers, and I was checking if they are okay or not and providing financing. I was part of the team and negotiating the international trade, opening letter of credits, and also on the other hand, dealing with our customers abroad, selling our goods. So it was great chance and opportunity. Well, now I'm in EOS. I've been here for 13 years, so this is a place that I could utilize all the experience I gained during my studies and also the activities at the bank and also in Husky. So it's complementary.
I also started many years ago. My first 4 years working in a bank as well, and I think whilst it's probably a very kind of regimented kind of workplace, there's not a lot you can do to kind of use your imagination. It's very kind of process driven, isn't it? But for all that, it gives great experience, doesn't it? Like you were saying, in meeting different customers from different companies, different situations, and you kind of see the world from a different perspective from that side, and then you go into the commercial world when you're on the other side. So I think it's a good grounding, isn't it? And wherever you go next, like you said, you went to AOS, so now you're seeing sort of different sides of that picture. It's all very good grounding. And now doing what you're doing now, of course, you're working with companies from all different spheres all the time. Yeah.
Yes.
It's as you were going through then, or even now, do you have, can you recall people that were like influencers or mentors, people that really inspired you in some direction? And if so, what was it that they gave you?
I met many people already during my studies. It would not be fair to name them because I would definitely forget somebody. But generally, after I started my career in a bank, I still remember a very good lady, a German lady, who was my senior. I was working with her from my beginning, and she was great because she was really giving me practical advices. She helped me to get the real sense and real feeling for the business, and I was helping her at the very beginning with her clients, and then she gave me part of them, and then I was servicing my own, and it was really learning on a job, and I was very well guided by her, and
okay.
I really appreciate that. So she was at the beginning of my career, and she made big solid grounds for my working career.
And do you still kind of, even now, do you still kind of sometimes reflect back on that and go, what would she have said, or what would we have done in that situation?
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah.
It's important, isn't it, to have those kind of, if not actual people around you, but to think back to those times and to kind of recalibrate from that moment. Yeah. Good. Okay. So was there a time in your early career, can you recall that you were kind of going to set out and become, as you are now, a very senior manager?
Well, I started as a junior manager in a bank, and I was seeking my opportunities, and then when I got the opportunity to work for Husky, this was just the decision moment when I said, okay, I was not heading to the very top. I was hired as a CFO, but it came out of it somehow that I became CEO in a couple of months,
Okay.
And I was simply there, and so I was. It was challenge for me. I wanted to go that way, and it was like this. It was soon done, and since 1997, I am there. So
You always kind of had your eye on progressing as you went through your career. It was always kind of in your mind that you would work it up.
it was kind of motivation for me to see the way, to see the point to go, and then I wanted to go.
Okay. So you're the country manager now, and so how does that feel? From the kind of the human side, if you like, that you're responsible for many people. You're under pressure to deliver results in what is a very fierce competitive market. Yeah, how is that with you personally?
It's great and challenging. It's necessary to say, because you've already mentioned it. The market is very challenging, and there are not only heavy competitors, but the surrounding around us is also changing rapidly. There is a big move in legislation. There are new regulations like GDPR. We are suddenly also under Consumer Credit Directive to a certain extent. We have new AML rules. So a lot of has changed during the last 5 years, and also there are some regulations originally aimed to control some others activity, but they also impact us, meaning the enforcement law or the insolvency law. So we have a lot to observe, and we have a lot to deal with. So from my perspective, it is very challenging and also interesting.
Okay, it obviously comes through that you love doing what you're doing, and it's you're very passionate, and you explained how your drive comes. The kind of the competition is what kind of thrives and gets you up every day to keep doing what you're doing. So would you say that that's kind of how you motivate your teams, that it's kind of your enthusiasm is contagious, if you like? So
if I look at how I try to motivate my team, it is my perspective. I hope they also feel it like that. I try to invite them to decision making process. I want them to be as a part of the team, as those who also co-decide, because I understand that they can gain some experience, they can bring some knowledge to that, and they can experience the good feeling when the work is done and everything works. So I find myself within that I try to help my people, to motivate my people with inviting them to take part in the decision process.
I think you made a very good point there, and I think it's very important that irrespective of your position, that you said you involve everybody else in the decision making process. Yeah. So when others come back to you and say, "Hey, Vladimir, what about?" I said, "Would you take that advice, particularly even if they were, say, a young person, a beginner, if you like, straight out of school? Would you, if it was a good idea, you?"
Yeah, of course. I find the younger generation good in certain things, like the understanding of social networks, for instance. They are much better than I am, and they have also different opinions about things going on around, and this is right. It is vitally important to know their opinions, and I try to look at them. I open the topics in a wider audience in a team when we are discussing something, and try to discover where might be the truth. And yeah, it's definitely so. And of course, we are all getting older, and it is necessary to say that it is not easier. It is not very easy. It is not very difficult to find somebody who is simply younger than I am.
Tell me about it.
So,
Indeed. What would you say have been the biggest changes in the work environment for you personally, and also in the wider economic context, but maybe since the last 20 years or so, really?
well, when I think about it, I think it is in general technology and lifetime balance. These two things, technology, there is a huge development. Look at the cell phones we have, the emails, or the around. This is something that 20 years ago nobody knew about, and we have to deal with this, especially the mobile technology. It took me some while to accept that emails are simply in my cell phone, then I can deal with them whenever I want. So this was new. And when I started work for the bank, we had just an email and fax. Who is faxing now? Nobody. And lifetime balance. This is also, it is exactly connected with this. Once you are permanently available, you have to find some space for yourself. You have to say, okay, this is the period of time that I dedicate to my family, that I dedicate to sport, or to myself, and to find the space. Otherwise, you get lost. And so, before, when I look back 20 years ago, I simply went out from the office. It was over.
Yeah.
Not like that. So this is the change that came, and these two things were very important.
I think you make a very good point there. We're recording this early in 2021, and I think we in the last year, because of the working from home thing, I think it seems like we've very much gone. At the minute, we seem to be working, or a lot of people are just working like every minute they're awake. So even the commuting time has gone at the moment, and I'd like to think that the work-life balance, as you mentioned, will actually kind of return again. There'll be some kind of separation between work and home, even if we're in the same place, same building all the time. And because at some point that's going to have a human effect on us, and it's going to be an impact on that, I think so. But you're right. I think it's interesting that the work-life balance thing is a big subject right now, isn't it? Carrying on that same kind of thought, then, what kind of challenges do you face as a company executive, particularly right now, say as we are just coming out of 2020 and into 2021?
It is obviously to a certain extent connected to COVID-19 situation. So it's about setting up the work frame for the remote work, organizing the work for my employees. I try to find out the way how to work with my employees in the best way, how to maintain the company culture as it was, and how to mitigate the effect of lack of personal communication, because just seeing each other in video is okay, but it is still something different if you can have lunch together. So this is an issue that I am dealing with. So this is challenging for me now in these days.
You think that, and I guess the same thing applies with your clients as well. You would go and see them. You sit in their office.
It's exactly the same. The business we are doing is very much connected with trust, and people who decide about acquiring services of the collection agents have to be to a certain extent sure about the quality of the collection agents, about quality of the people, about there must be some trust developed. And in case we can't see each other, we can just talk or maybe write an email, there is little space for creation of this trustful atmosphere and for mutual relations. So doing new business is very difficult. and also the maintaining the relations that we were used to have. Also now it is difficult. Also meeting our old clients, when we meet them, we are very happy that we can see each other. There is no discussion about troublesome conditions. We are just very happy that we can see each other.
Well, I agree, and I think one of the things I'm missing, one of the things that we miss, I think, working kind of the offshore environment that we very much work in, and also now the fact that we're even in this lockdown situation too, is you get a better understanding of what it is your customer actually does. You go and see them, you can see their product, their factory or machines or whatever it is they're doing. So when you're making your business judgments and not only collecting money on their behalf, but you're also advising them for the future as well. That's, as you said, that's a bit that's missing at the moment, isn't it? To actually get a real kind of feel for what it is they're about.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel that's the biggest casualty right now in the business world is exactly that human interaction. Okay. How do you how do you look after yourself then? So we've established it's very challenging. The work-life balance is a bit skewed at the moment. What are your conscious efforts with your kind of physical and mental health? I mean, do you have some kind of routine of
if speaking about the daily routine at work, it is nothing special. I try to mix the activities, like talking to my colleagues with analytical activity or with creation of some documents. This is the change of the work, so that you still get focused on the work you do. And in case of mental health and physical health, it is a little bit different than the pre-COVID situation. I used to go to the gym. I had some meetings with friends, going for a bike or so. Now it's a little bit limited, but it is still working. Going for a bike, it was okay also in the summer. And this week I go for the ski country skiing. So there will be some activity anyway, so it's always good. But in general, what I can really recommend is scuba diving. It is a great thing. So,
maybe not right now in Brno, right?
There was some accident, I know. But, in general, it is great because you have your body, you have your preparation, you have the dive, you have to concentrate on the dive, and then when you get back, you have a lot to talk about with your body that you have really no thought on your work, and you can relax very effectively.
I actually agree, and I've been diving a few times over this. Normally when I go on a warm water holiday somewhere, but I've had this conversation a few times, and I think it is probably maybe parachuting and diving are the only sports where you it's the only place where you can go where there is absolutely no contact with electronic communication, right? Yeah. If you're 10 or 20 meters down the water, you can't start doing emails or taking phone calls. And the same if you jump out of an aeroplane, but with a bike or running or something, there's still that temptation to stop and respond, isn't there? So I actually agree. I think the diving is a very pleasant pastime, isn't it? So I would agree with that. Probably even it's just snorkeling, same principle really, isn't it? But no, I agree with that. I agree. No, I was just saying right now, it's snowing outside here in Brno right now. So although I have some friends who do this crazy winter swimming thing, but it's not for me. So, they're going now, like this afternoon they're going, and it's like -5 right now. So
I think it might be interesting, but I have not tried it yet.
No, it's not the least bit interesting. Trust me, I tried it. Okay. Well, it depends. Obviously a lot of people like it, but going on. So you still make it, as you're saying, you make a very conscious effort to have a break somewhere in your work. You'll go for a walk or do something. And what would you tell your 18-year-old self, or anybody aspiring to be of executive status?
Well, I would recommend definitely listen to the advices that are given to you, think about them, create networks wherever you are in every position, because it might be useful for the future to and learn and listening and learning, looking around. This is very very vital and important.
Mm.
What is definitely bad is if you think you already know everything, so forget it.
Yeah. I think it's what's the word? The kind of always be humble, isn't it? And realize that we don't, no matter how old we are, how far we go, there's always something that we pick up on the journey. Yeah. I think that's a very good point. What are your personal hopes and dreams for the future?
Well, very big hope is that the situation that we are facing now will end up soon, and that we get back to normal lives. But there is also one hope behind it. In fact, I think COVID-19 brought us also new experience and maybe can help us to reset our values. I think the situation before was too much driven by wealth and success. And I think it is also very important to change these values and to think about life balance and about mental health and about about uh, about real values of life.
Yeah, I think
This is something that I'm hoping in that the COVID-19 might help to change.
I think it's an opportunity, isn't it, to kind of reset from chasing material gain all the time, and to actually just appreciate what we got around us, isn't the simple things in life. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100% on that, and I think that's a lovely and inspiring place to finish. So, Vladimir, thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon. Bless you.
Thank you, Mark, for the opportunity to talk to you and have a good time.
Thanks a lot. All the best. Cheers.